What is up, everybody? Welcome in to 4th and 25 with J Ram. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day out there. I hope you are staying safe. Hope you're having a good day. Um, Hope you're not as dry as we are. It is Passover week, as of course we are celebrating when Jesus came out of the tomb. That is the Sunday with Easter week upon us. But here, before we get to that, we got a little college football show, of course, that we do every once a week. Welcome in, 4th and 25. All right, guys. So we've been doing early looks at schedules for 2026. We've attacked the Power Four conferences. We looked at the independents. We looked at a few of the G5 leagues. We still got four to go. This week we're going to do two of them, and we're waiting on the other two to get done. So let's start with the reborn Pac-12. As y'all know, the Pac-12 is coming back. On July 1st, the Pac-12 is back. So they got 8 schools. Let's look at their schedules. We'll jump in with the presumably going to be the favorite in the new Pac-12. Here is Boise State's 2026 schedule. The Broncos will open up at Oregon. They had a good one a few years ago up in Eugene when Ashton Jenney was still the running back for the Broncos. But that's an interesting opener. Memphis, look at this. Memphis coming to the blue turf the following week. That might be a interesting clash of G6 programs right there. Memphis has a new coach, but interesting. It'd be cool to see Memphis and Boise lock up again. South Dakota, your presumed win of all of them. At Western Michigan, if you do not follow the MAC, you probably don't know who Western Michigan is, but they won the conference last year. I think they won double-digit games, and a lot of their nucleus of their team is back, including their quarterback, their running back. So two very good G6 matchups, G6 versus G6 collisions on this non-con schedule for Boise State. So, yeah, that's interesting. And then Pac-12 play will start with Utah State. I believe that's going to be October 3rd, yeah. And then you'll go to Fresno State. Of course, we all know the Boise State-Fresno State history. You got to go to Wazoo, one of the two leftovers of this league from the past. Texas State, probably the most unique newbie of the conference as they come in from the Sun Belt at Colorado State. And then you got Oregon State. Boise and Oregon State seem to always find each other. And then you got San Diego State. And then if you look right there, November 28th on the final week of the season, it says flex. We will talk about that a little bit more once we get through with these 8 schedules. Everybody's going to have a flex game at the end of the year, but we'll go through that here in just a little bit. All right, next up, let's take a look at the schedule for Colorado State and new head coach Jim Moore, as you see him there on the poster. The Rams will open up against Wyoming, their old rivals, which of course they were rivals in the Mountain West for so many years, and in the WAC. They play for a boot, a trophy that looks like a golden boot. I can't remember exactly what the boot's called, but at least they're still playing. I know it's a non-con game now, and it's the first week of the season, but it is what it is. So you open with Wyoming, Southern Utah. That's a game you're expected to win. Then you got to go, and then you got BYU coming in, the Big 12 BYU, for those who don't remember. That'll be a tough one. Then your first road trip, you'll head to UTSA to play a solid Roadrunners team. And then conference play will open with Oregon State coming in, followed by your bye week. Then you'll hit the road for a conference game at Texas State. We're in a world where Colorado State and Texas State is a Pac-12 game. What is going on? San Diego State comes in, and at the end of October, you'll head to Utah State. Boise will visit, and then you got back-to-back road trips to Wazoo and Fresno State, and then, of course, the flex game. We'll show those here in just a little bit. So anyway, this is a look of year one of the Jim Moore era in Fort Collins. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at Fresno State. Let's look at the Bulldogs and what they're going to have in their first Pac-12 season. They open up at USC. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put that as a loss. And then you host FBS newbie Sacramento State from your region as they come in on the 12th. And then you'll go to San Jose State, which is, of course, Not a conference game anymore since San Jose is still in the Mountain West. I do not know the name of the trophy, but they play for some trophy. But anyway, at least you'll still get to play your in-state rival San Jose, and then you come back home to host Rice. So manageable first month after that USC game. Then you'll jump into Pac-12 play with a trip to Wazoo on October the 3rd. Yeah. Then you've got Boise State at home, followed by a trip to arch rival San Diego State. You'll have a bye week, and then you will head. Oh, I'm sorry. You will host Oregon State in the Valley, and then trips to Utah State and Texas State, and then a home date with Colorado State, and then your flex game, November 28th. All right. Next up, let's check out the Beavers of Oregon State. This is what they're facing in 2026 in their return to the Pac-12. They will open up, let's see, at Houston. Ooh. So they'll head to play Power 4 Houston. That's right, Houston's a Power 4 school. Oregon State's not. Wow. They'll host Texas Tech the following week. That may not be pretty. As you remember, they were massacred in Lubbock last year. Then they'll host Montana, solid FCS program. Then they will head to UTEP to play the Miners to close out the non-con schedule. If you can get out of that 2-2, I think you're doing good with your first-year coach. Conference play at Colorado State, San Diego State at home, at Wazoo, your bye week. Then you got to go to Fresno, Texas State at home in conference play, at Boise, and then Utah State at home, and then the flex game, which I believe theirs is Wazoo, but we'll, like I say, we'll get to that in a minute. But I didn't forget, Oregon State has a new coach, so it's a new era there for the Beavers as they begin Pac-12 life. The return to the Pac-12. Let's see. Let's look at the San Diego State Aztecs. I love this program. They got some cool helmets. They're in a good area, and now they're in the Pac-12. Should have been there, but in my opinion. But anyway, let's see. They're going to open up with Portland State, that game you're expected to win. And then you're at UCLA. New coach, chance to get you a win against a Power 4 school. Just saying. James Madison comes in September 19th. I just now noticed that. So that's a G6 heavyweight fight, maybe, between two solid programs of the G6 level. And then at Toledo. So another good non-conference game. So shout out to San Diego State here. They've got some interesting non-con games after that Portland State game. So chance to build some momentum there in the first month of their season. All right, and then conference play starts for them with Texas State, and then you got to go to Oregon State. October 17th, the team up north. That's talking about Fresno State, in case you wonder. I got a comment here. Hey, Aunt Helen, thank you for commenting. October 17th, the team up north, that's Fresno State, that battle for the old can. If you don't know the history of that, that's what they call that rivalry game. We will look up. We might dive into that later on. At Colorado State, then you've got Wazoo coming in, Utah State coming in, at Boise State, and then, of course, your flex game after that. So, interesting slate there for the Aztecs as they will look to make their mark in the reborn Pac-12. All right, let's keep it rolling. Let's look at the team that I don't think any of us thought would ever be in the Pac-12, but here they are. Let's look at the Texas State Bobcats and G.J. Kinney's crew. They've got a very interesting in-state non-conference schedule. They'll, of course, go to Texas week 1 to play the Longhorns. That ain't going to be probably pretty. Then you've got 3 straight home games with UTSA. Okay, that's a rivalry. I have to look that up when I can. That's an in-state rivalry. Then you've got North Texas coming in, who you played in a bowl game a few years ago, but new coach, a lot of new there. That's a game you're going to be expected to win. And then Incarnate Word, or is that Lamar? I think that's Lamar. You should win that game. And then conference play opens up with a trip to San Diego State. We'll see how they adapt to this. Colorado State and Utah State will visit San Marcos the next 2 weeks. And then you've got to make 2 trips out to the Rockies and the West Coast with Boise and Oregon State. Those are going to be good challenges. and then you're back home to host Fresno and Wazoo, and then you have your flex game. So that is a look at year one for the Bobcats of Texas State. All right, two more to go here in the Pac-12. Let's look at Utah State and what they face in 2026 as they embark on their first year as a Pac-12 school. Um, they'll open up with Idaho State, game you're expected to win, and then two very daunting road games at Washington and at Utah. So I think 1 and 2 is probably penciled in. Then you got a sneaky game with Troy coming in. That might be an interesting G6 matchup, but it's at home. And then you get into conference play, going to play Boise on the road. Wazoo's coming in after that. Your bye week at Texas State, Colorado State, Fresno State, trips to San Diego State, and Oregon State. And then you'll see right there, their flex game at the moment is Boise State. Now, of course, these are subject to change, but again, more on that in a little bit. So this is an early look at what the Aggies are going to be facing in year one of Pac-12 life. All right, last one. Let's look at Wazoo. Let's see what the Cougars face. Of course, they have a new head coach too. As I don't forgot his name, but he came over from Missouri. It's Kellen Moore's brother. But anyway, Washington State is a new era as they return to the Pac-12. They will open their season with the Apple Cup. It's so weird. So weird seeing Wazoo and Washington play in week one, the Apple Cup, but they're in different conferences, so what do you expect? They'll head to Seattle to play the Huskies to start the season, and then they get to go to Kansas State. So that's who also has a new coach and a new beginning there. So very daunting first 2 weeks, and then you've got Duquesne coming in from the FCS, game you're expected to win, and then you got Arizona coming in from the Big 12, an old Pac-12 folk. So outside of Duquesne, you've got three very brutal non-con games in that first month, and then conference play. You got Fresno State coming in to start. You got to go to Utah State and Oregon State back-to-back weeks. Boise coming in on the 24th. Something tells me that might be one of the bigger games in the conference. You got to go to San Diego State. Colorado State visits at Texas State. And then, of course, you close with the flex game, which at the moment looks to be Oregon State at home. But that is, of course, subject to change. All right. So that is a look of the conference schedules in the Pac-12. It's the first year of the new Pac-12. Now, we talked about these flex games at the end of the season, so here's a little bit of a statement. For 2026, the league's home-and-home flex matchup to conclude the regular season in Week 13. They will retain the rights to adjust these matchups based on the best interest of the league, including college football playoff considerations at that time. Projected matchups for the final week, not to be confirmed until 6 days prior at the latest. These are currently the flex matchups for Week 13. Boise State at Utah State, Texas State at Colorado State, San Diego State at Fresno State, arch rival, Oregon State, Wazoo. If any flex format for Week 13 matchups, the home teams, of course, will be Colorado State, Fresno, Utah State, and Wazoo. The format ensures a minimum of 6 home games for each conference member, as well as 4 games each against fellow Pac-12 opponents. Further considerations will be taken into account should any flex occur. No team returning to the same place in the same season. And by the way, these will not count in the conference standings. It will be 7 conference games. These games will not count in the conference. It's just pretty much an extra game to try to help build a potential college football playoff resume. All right, so that is a look at the Pac-12. A little early at their look at their schedules. Okay, so also we are going to move over and we're going to jump into another conference. Let's look at the MAC, the Mid-American Conference, who also has a little bit of some newness coming in as they say goodbye to Northern Illinois. Let's look at the 2026 schedule for the improving Akron Zips. There we go. Who actually were not bad last year. They open up at Wake Forest. Then you host Robert Morris. Okay, there's a game you should win. You go to Minnesota. UNLV coming in at the end of September. That may not be pretty because UNLV is probably going to be fairly good. And then you get in the MAC play. You'll open up with a trip to Central Michigan, who's not bad. Then you host Eastern Michigan. Back-to-back trips to Miami, Ohio, and improving Kent State, who's won 5 games last year. They're not as big of a doormat right now. But then you got very tough home games to start November with Ohio and reigning conference champion Western Michigan. A trip to UMass, probably the doormat of the league. And then you conclude, of course, with Buffalo. So that's what Joe Moorhead and the Zips are facing in year one. All right, let's keep it rolling. Let's look at Ball State. I got these in alphabetical order, I think. All right, so Ball State, 2026 season. They'll open at Ohio State. They'll get massacred. Then they host Stony Brook. That's a game you're going to be expected to roll. Interesting trip to Liberty, September 19th. Where is Liberty right now? We don't know where that program is under Jamie Chadwell after last year when they fell flat on their face. Got to go to Kent State, who's improved. Toledo, one of the best programs in the conference, will be coming in to kick off October. Then you got to go to Northwestern for your other non-con game. Yikes. Got to go to Bowling Green, who seems to be improving under Eddie George. They were not bad last year. Sacramento State, the new member of the MAC. Yes, you heard that right. It's still weird. A school in Sacramento, California is in the Mid-American Conference. Anyway. At UMass, then you got Buffalo, at Ohio, and Central Michigan. That little stretch right there of Sacramento, UMass, and Buffalo. Now Buffalo's improved, but it's going to be a difficult challenge. But Ball State needs to show some improvement. Then last 2 weeks are going to be really tough. Okay, speaking of Bowling Green, here is what Eddie George's Falcons are going to see in year 2 of his regime. They will kick off with FCS Tarleton State. Not a gimme. Not a gimme. Tarleton State is a very good FCS program. They are a winner. They are a playoff contender. Just gas Army. They beat Army last year in West Point. So, not a pushover. And then you got to go to Nebraska and Iowa State the next 2 weeks. Paycheck games. South Florida's at home. They're going to be still solid under their new coach. So, you better get that Tarleton State game because that is a brutal first month there for Bowling Green. And then you jump into MAC play. You go to one of your rivals, Miami, Ohio, who's always good under Chuck Pagano. He's a good head coach. Chuck Martin. I'm sorry. Where did I get Chuck Pagano from? Anyway, Chuck Martin, really good coach of the Red Hawks. Then you got Sacramento State coming in, the newbies. And then Ball State, that's a couple of chances to get wins. Then you got road trips to Buffalo, who's a good program right now. At Western Michigan, probably the best team in the conference. They'll be the favorites, reigning champions. Arch rival Kent State the following week on a Tuesday. That's a Tuesday night game. As you know, November is what we call MACtion, midweek MAC games. Then you've got at the school up north, Toledo the following Wednesday, 8 days later. The Battle of I-75, I believe. You know, if you know, you know. Toledo Bowling Green, a great rivalry. And then, of course, UMass, a game you probably are going to be favored to win. All right, so that's Bowling Green. Let me take that off my screen. Got a little behind there. Sorry about that. All right, let's take a look at Buffalo. Speaking of which, the Bulls, a program that has progressed the last few years. Okay, so Buffalo 2026, they will open up hosting Albany of the FCS. Okay. I don't know where Albany is now. I don't know what they are as a program. A couple years ago, they were a semifinal playoff team. I got to go to FIU, who's tremendously improved. You got to go to Penn State. That's going to be ugly. Then you've got Robert Morris coming in. Could you pull an upset at FIU and be 3-1 in the non-con league? That wouldn't be bad for Buffalo, but we'll see. There's a chance there to get some early momentum. And then you jump into your MAC play with defending champion Western Michigan coming in. That's going to be probably a big game in the conference. Trip to Toledo, that'll be a big one. You got UMass coming in and then Bowling Green coming in. Maybe that's a good one. At Miami, Ohio, that's possibly a good one. Ball State on the road. Central Michigan at home. And then, of course, you close with Akron. Interesting. So some big MAC games there on that 2026 slate for the Bulls. All right, so let's keep this train rolling and look at the Chippewas of Central Michigan, another MAC program that's not doing too shabby at the moment. They will open up at New Mexico. Ooh, good luck there. The Lobos are on fire after winning 9 games last season, making their first bowl in a long time, and nearly beat Minnesota in that bowl game. Jason X doing a great job in Albuquerque. There's a lot of momentum and support behind the Lobos, so good luck down there, Central Michigan. And then they'll host Colgate. That's a game you're expected to win. Wyoming, okay, interesting. Game you can win. Got to go to Miami. That ain't going to be pretty. And then your homecoming to kick off MAC play with Akron. Game you can win. At Ohio, that's going to be a big road challenge. We know how good of a program the Bobcats consistently are. Western Michigan, our in-state rival, again, phenomenal program that's rolling right now. It's probably going to be the favorites in the league. Miami, Ohio comes in, and then you've got Eastern Michigan, November 4th. I believe that's a MACtion game midweek. But anyway, it's in Detroit. They're actually playing that game at Ford Field for some reason. Why, I don't know. I don't like taking away games from campus, but it is what it is. In-state rivalry. Sacramento State the following week, the conference newbie. Then you got to go to Buffalo, and you close at Ball State. So your conference schedule includes Ohio, Western Michigan, Miami, Ohio, and Buffalo. That's pretty tough. New Mexico and Miami are on the non-con slate. That's pretty good, too. All right, so that's the Chippewas. Let's keep it in the state of Michigan. Let's look at Eastern Michigan. Let's see what the Eagles have in their 2026 slate. Now, they are actually going to play on week 0 a conference game, as they will play Sacramento State, the newbie. So I wonder if this one's going to be on there's a TV thing for this game. I guess we'll see later this summer. Excuse me. Anyway, it's at home, though. That'll be interesting as they play a conference game to start the year. Then they've got San Jose State coming in, very winnable. You've got trips to Michigan State and Wisconsin. Yeah, I hope you get paid good. And then you've got Lindenwood, have the FCS, and UMass on the road. That's a couple of very winnable games. Got to go to Akron. They're improved, but I still think that's winnable. Toledo, obviously we know their history and how good that program has been, even though they have a new coach. Got to go to Ohio. That's going to be tough. Sorry, I heard something in the background. And then they've got the game in Ford Field against Central Michigan on November 4th. That is a Wednesday night MACtion game. Trip to Western Michigan, that's probably not going to be fun. And then they close on Tuesday, November 24th with a MACtion game against Kent State, who's improved. So that's a look at the Eagles of Eastern Michigan and Coach Creighton. Good program up there in their creepy-looking gray field. All right, moving on. All right, so a program who had a 5-win season last year, and you would have thought they won the MAC or something. This is the best they've been in a long time. Let's look at Kent State. Let's just say the paycheck they're gonna get some paychecks because they open up at South Carolina. Yeeks. Then they host Wofford. You're 1-1. You got Ohio State. Oh God, 1-2. And then you get conference play rolling with Ball State, followed by Ohio. Like I say, Ohio's a good program. That's a tricky one. We'll see. And then you got to go to Western Michigan. That's probably not going to be pretty. Got to go to South Florida. I don't know why that game is in mid-October, but okay. That's a game you're more than likely going to be a big underdog. And then you play arch rival Akron, of course, for the wagon wheel. For those of you who know your rivalry trophies, Kent State, Akron, they play for a really cool-looking wagon wheel. We'll touch on some rivalry trophies on an episode later this summer. They'll hit the road to go to Sacramento State, all the way out to the West Coast for a conference game. Yes, that is accurate. Again. At Bowling Green, you got Miami, Ohio, and then at home, and then you close at Eastern Michigan. All right, so we'll go from a program known for losing to a MAC program that's known for winning and being really competitive. Chuck Martin's program, the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. This is their 2026 schedule. They will open up at Pitt. Is Pitt going to be better? I mean, could the Redhawks pull an upset at Pittsburgh? Never say never. Might be a chance for a G6 to beat a Power 4. I'm just saying. Then they host Holy Cross. one of those you're expected to win. Arch rival Cincinnati, that game looks like September 19th. They, of course, will play that game, I believe, at the Bengals Stadium right there in Cincinnati. I believe it's at the Bengals field. Then you've got homecoming against UConn. UConn's a lot better. That's going to be a big challenge. And then you'll jump into conference play, hosting one of your rivals, Bowling Green. Good series. You'll go to UMass. You'll host Akron. Go to Central Michigan. That's a pretty manageable first month, I think, right there for the Redhawks. And then on the back half, it gets a little tougher, in my opinion. You got Buffalo coming in, Ohio coming in, so 2 straight big home games, and then you'll hit the road to Kent State, and then, of course, at Western Michigan. Would not be shocked if that is a MAC championship game preview. All right, so that is Chuck Martin's crew. Let's look at the newbies. Let's look at Sacramento State, who is moving to the FBS. They will play in the MAC starting this fall. Wouldn't be shocked if they're a bowl team. Would not be shocked. So this is what they're playing in year 1 as an FBS school. Week 0, we touched on this a minute ago. They will have a conference game to start their season, and it's week 0 at Eastern Michigan. All right, cool. We'll see how they do. Non-con game against Mississippi Valley State, which is just up the road from where I'm at right now. A game you should win. Got to go to Fresno. Yuck. Got North Dakota State coming in of the Mountain West. Yes, they are also moving to FBS. So interesting first month there for the Hornets. And then conference play gets back on track with UMass. That's at home. Then that's a very good chance to win your first MAC conference game because we know how terrible UMass has been since they've been in the MAC. At Bowling Green, that's going to be a big challenge. Ohio at home, that'll be a big challenge. At Ball State, don't really know what to expect there, but you'll host Kent State, maybe a chance to win. Toledo comes in. We'll see where everybody is by then, obviously, but is Sacramento State good? Is Toledo good? Could that be a good game? At Central Michigan, and then 17-day layoff, and then the Hornets will conclude their season with a non-con game Thanksgiving weekend at Hawaii. Now, this ain't a shock because Hawaii used to always play a non-con game to end their season, so not a real big shock, but they'll close at Hawaii. Ain't got to fly far on your plane. So anyway, that is Sacramento State's schedule. All right, we got 2 more real quick. Let's take a look at the Toledo Rockets, who have a new coach, in their 2026 schedule. I forgot their new coach's name, but he comes from FCS Mercer, and he's got a pretty good track record. Okay, so here's what Toledo is facing in 2026. They're at Michigan State, who also has a new coach. Could you pull an upset? We'll see. I ain't betting on it. Central Connecticut of the FCS, that's a game you'll be expected to rule. Temple, second year of the Casey Keeler era there in Philadelphia. Will they be better? You'll be home against San Diego State. So that's going to be a really good G6 clash, I think. And then you jump into conference play in October at Ball State. Might be a tricky road game. Who knows? You got Buffalo at Eastern Michigan, and then circle that one right there, October 24th, Western Michigan. That's going to be a good game, possibly. And then you get into action in November at Sacramento State. Like I said, we'll see where they are by then. You got UMass. You got arch rival Bowling Green. And then, of course, Black Friday, you conclude at Ohio. Could there be MAC championship implications by then? We don't know. But anyway, this is a look at the Rockets' 2026 schedule. All right, last one. Let's look at the defending, reigning conference champions who are going to be more than likely favored to win it all again, and that's Western Michigan. I mean, their quarterback's back, their running back's back. There's a lot of good pieces on this team. They'll open up at Michigan, game you'll be expected to lose in the Kyle Whittingham debut. But you never say never. You got Monmouth of the FCS. That's a game you're expected to win. You'll be at Rice. Rice didn't make a bowl game last year, but we'll see. We'll see. And then, of course, we talked about this one, Boise State, September 26th. This should be a very good. If you follow G6 football, Western Michigan and Boise State's one you might ought to circle on your calendar. This could be a good one. I see they're honoring the 2016 team that day. That is the Western Michigan team. If you don't know, in 2016 went undefeated in conference play, undefeated regular season, won the MAC, and actually made an appearance in a New Year's Day bowl game. They went to the Cotton Bowl that year and lost to Wisconsin, but still a really great team. So anyway, MAC play opens up at Buffalo. That's a good challenge. You got Kent State, who's improving, at Central Michigan, who's not a cakewalk, at Toledo, we know the history. Bowling Green, who's getting better, at Akron, who's getting better, Eastern Michigan, and then Miami, Ohio at the end of the year on November 24th. So your non-con, you've got Michigan, you got Boise, that's two, and then in your conference, you got Buffalo, Central Michigan, Toledo, Bowling Green, and Miami, Ohio all on there. Very, very good schedule. I think it's a very interesting schedule there for the Broncos in 2026. They're going to have to earn that conference championship. All right, so that is a look at schedules for the MAC and the Pac-12. All right, guys. So before we move on to our next segment, I'm going to take a quick breather. We got some news and notes we're going to discuss real quick, and we'll get into Lost and Found. See you guys in a second. All right. Hey guys, welcome back to 4th and 25 with J-Ram. I was uploading some stuff real quick as we continue on here. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some news and notes. I'm actually going to start real quick with one that broke last night. This is promising in my opinion. CF Budge posted this, so hopefully this is pretty accurate. Take it with a grain of salt. Sports Business Journal reported that the college football season could start a week earlier as soon as 2027, according to a report from The Athletic, which is a reliable source. That's a big one. The move would add flexibility with 2 bye weeks and remove the need for NCAA waivers. A decision is expected in the coming months. I like it. I hope this is what's going to help lead to a new schedule. Like I say, start the season sooner and end it sooner. There's no excuse why we're playing the national championship game on January 25th next year. That is the most ignorant thing I've ever seen. I want to see the schedule get back to where we're crowning a champion early January. Now, I don't know if we'll get to where it's New Year's Day, like some people are wanting, but if we can go back to crowning a champion around January 7th or 8th, that'd be fine with me. So this is big news. I think there might be the intention of a bigger playoff or something involved with this too. They're just not talking about it. But if you start the season sooner and you give everybody 2 bye weeks, that's cool. So anyway, this is some promising news. I'm very, very excited to hear that, and that gives me hope that maybe this schedule is going to get better as we roll on. All right, so y'all know I'm an Ole Miss fan, so I'm going to get this out of the way. Awesome news this past Friday. Trinidad Chambliss is free. He is free. He can play. A Mississippi Supreme Court judge denied the NCAA's petition to overturn his decision that would allow him to not play. He will be back. So the appeal is denied. Trinidad Chambliss is free to play in 2026 for Ole Miss. So the Rebel in me is super, super excited. This is huge news for Ole Miss, Coach Golden, the staff, the fan base. We're all stoked about this news. Awesome news. All right. Next up, let's take a look. This is refreshing. Check this out. If you don't know who West Florida is, they are a very good program at the D2 level. West Florida is officially on the move. They are moving up to the FCS. The Argos will join the United Athletic Conference, the Argonauts, on July 1st of 2026. So here in 3 months, they will join the conference. Let's see. Their president said our transition to D1 marks a historic step forward for UWF, reflects momentum, ambition, and excellence to define our community. They will be in the UAC in football. The rest of their athletics will be in the Atlantic Sun. Let's see if I can get you a little more. The school is located in Pensacola, Florida. If you've never been to Pensacola, it is a beautiful city. I have been there, and I hope I can get back down there before too long. I love Pensacola. Pretty place. Beautiful beach, nice waters, hometown of Roman Reigns. But love Pensacola. That's where the school is located. Cool little stadium it's gonna undergo some work as they move up to the FCS. They will be included in the UAC regular schedule this fall and will be eligible for the conference championship. The stupid rule, following a 3-year class reclassification period, then they'll be eligible for the playoffs. I hate that rule, but it is what it is. As far as the other schools in the conference, it will be with West Florida. They will have Abilene Christian, Austin Peay, Central Arkansas, Eastern Kentucky, North Alabama, Tarleton State, and West Georgia. So congratulations to West Florida, though. They are on the move. They will move from D2 to FCS as they will join the UAC. Ross Dillinger's tweet about it when the news broke a couple days ago. Ross Dillinger, of course, does a great job covering our great sport of college football, of covering college ball. Anyway, West Florida is on the move. Congratulations, as they will move to the FCS, and we wish them all the best as they transition. And I think they're going to do a good job. They're a very successful program in D2, winning championships and being very good. All right, moving on. Let's do our Lost and Found segment we've been covering for the past couple of weeks. What we've been doing is we've been looking back at some college football programs that have been gone, that sadly are no longer with us, that were terminated or shut down, but have history. We've covered Wichita State. We've covered We've covered Long Beach State. We've covered Pacific, Gonzaga, Santa Clara. Well, for today, we're going to keep it on the West Coast at least for another week with a couple of programs. So let's take a look at the former football program of St. Mary's College, known as the St. Mary's Jails. If you watch college basketball, you know who they are. They are a solid college basketball program. They were in the NCAA tournament a couple of weeks ago. Okay, so St. Mary's, I could not get very much from them as far as pictures of the program. Here's another graphic of theirs. They played from 1892 to 2003. I think they were in the D3 level at that point. Here's a team photo of theirs. It looks like it's from the 80s, if I had to guess. And then here's a picture. Oh, this is 83. Okay, 1983 this one was from their program. All right. So St. Mary's, let me pull this up. Sorry about that. Okay, so here's what the Jails football history looks like. Their last conference, they were a 1AA independent. Their last stadium was St. Mary's Stadium. I don't know what the capacity was, but I believe that stadium is actually still on campus. I think their soccer team might be using it. All-time record, 380 wins, 295 losses, 22 ties. They did win 4 conference championships in the 20s. It was called the Western Conference, apparently. They made 3 bowl games. They won 1. They were actually beat Texas Tech in the 1938 Cotton Bowl. Did not know that. 20-13. Then 7 years later, they actually played in the Sugar Bowl down in New Orleans. They played Oklahoma A&M, which today is Oklahoma State, in case you're curious, losing 33-13. And then their last bowl was the 1946 Oil Bowl against Georgia Tech, where they were defeated 41-19. They had 20 All-Americans. 2 were consensus. Center Larry Bentoncourt from 1927 and running back Herman Wedemeyer from 1945. Hopefully I don't butcher their names. They had 4 guys go in the College Football Hall of Fame. Center and defensive end Larry Bentoncourt of the 20s. He was in the class of 1973. Head coach James Fallon from 1942 through 47. He went in the 73 class. Also, he had a 47-25-1 record as their head coach. Let's see. Slip Madigan. I hope I said that name right. I'm bad with some of these names. He was a head coach there at one point from 1921 through 39. Don't have his record. He was in the class of 74. And we talked about him, Herman Wedemeyer, running back, class of 1979. So anyway, That is a look at St. Mary's football and their proud history. Gone, but not forgotten. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at the history of the Cal State Fullerton Titans football program. If you follow college baseball well enough, you know who this program is. They've won national championships in baseball. Now, their football program has been gone for a little while, but they're called the Titans, a school out of California. Here's just a couple of graphics. Really cool old graphic here. It looks like it's out of the 80s, I had to guess. See, the helmets are pretty simple. Um, Here's one of their older photos of their kicker trying to kick a field goal. All right, so here's their history in football. A little smaller page here. 1970 to 1992, program did not last real long. Their last conference was the Big West Conference. They played in Titan Stadium, which has a capacity of 10,000. It is still here to this day. I believe they've renovated it and worked on it. I believe it's for soccer now and maybe lacrosse or something, but I know the stadium's still there. All-time record, they had a losing record, 107 wins, 150 losses, 3 ties. Oh, excuse me. They won a couple of conference championships. 1983 and 1984, they were the Big West champs. The 1984 team was not originally going to be the Big West champs, but UNLV was busted for NCAA violations and had to forfeit the games. So Cal State Fullerton, by virtue of the forfeits, was awarded the championship. So they actually have 2 Big West titles to their credit. Bowl record 1-1. They played in the 71 Mercy Bowl, beating Fresno State. And then in 1983, they played in the California Bowl, losing to Northern Illinois. 1 All-American, as far as I could find, running back O.B. Graves from 1978. And then they had 22 alum that went on to play in the NFL as well. So, all right, that is a look at the history of Cal State football. Gone, but not forgotten. All right, so let's take one more break, and when we come back, I am going to get into our non-football segment, which is, of course, as we continue our music series, it is Kenny Chesney songs, and so I give you my top 10 favorite Kenny Chesney songs. I will see you guys in just a minute.
Hey, Andrew Anderson, spitting truth that just can't wait. Got a podcast, like a punch right to your face. College sports villain, taking it over the place. I bring the facts whether you like it or not. Dropping truth bombs, giving it all I got. They call me a villain. Well, I wear that badge with pride. Nothing but secrets they try to hide. Hard rock in my veins, rebellious to the core. I won't back down, won't take it anymore. The bad guy of the podcast world, that's me. Unleashing the truth, setting it all free. Unleashing the truth.
All right, guys, welcome back to 4th and 25 with J-Ram. All right, as we wind it down here, let's do our, as we normally do, our end of the show, non-football, college football segment. Last several weeks, we've been doing favorite singers. We've been doing some top 10 songs by some of our favorite country music artists. As y'all know, I'm a country guy. We've covered Tim McGraw. We've covered Jason Aldean. We've covered Gary Allen, Alan Jackson, Lainey Wilson, just to name some. This week, we're going to do a guy who obviously has a very good tie to college football, played high school, but he loves college football like we all do. That, of course, is Mr. Kenny Chesney. Been fortunate to see him in concert 3 times, I believe. A great show if you've never been. All right, so this one was extremely hard because I've got a lot of his classics on my playlist. So I had to cut this down to 10, and I ended up doing an honorable mention. Here we go. Moving on. Honorable mention, you see the HM right there. It's a song called Reality. It was released on, let me pull the album up real quick. I think it was Hemingway's Whiskey, maybe? Let me check it real quick for you guys so I don't tell you the wrong. Or is it Cosmic Hallelujah? No, 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 no. Is it Hemingway's Whiskey? Yeah, Hemingway's Whiskey. If you don't know that album, it came out in 2010. The name of the song is Reality. It's an album cut. Really good tune. I thought it was a good escape song, if that makes any sense. So anyway, moving into the top 10, I've got Don't Blink. That song hits you really hard if you understand what he's talking about. It tells you don't blink because life goes quick. It's a pretty simple message. Next thing you know, you're 70 years old, and right now I'm 38. Or I'm 39. So, well, 38. I'll be 39 in September. Anyway, it just tells you this is a really good message. If you know the song really well, you know what I'm talking about. Number 9, I Go Back. This song is a little older from when I was in high school. Um, just pretty much a song about going back to your younger days and good old days. Really good tune. Number 8, The Good Stuff. This song is definitely an older one. I think it's 2002 maybe. Um, yeah, really good tune. Guy talks about needing the good stuff like second long kiss on the second day, stuff like that. Number 7, another even older song called She's Got It All. Love that tune. Very good beat to it. Pretty much talking about how you've met the girl who's got everything that you look for. Number 6, How Forever Feels. Really good jam. Really good jam. Good driving, cruising song. The line about Richard Petty makes me laugh every time. For those of you who watch NASCAR, you know what I'm talking about. Number 5, I struggled with this one. I felt like I might have should have went higher with this one, but number 5, Boys of Fall. It's a football song, you know that. ESPN's used it. You've heard it. You've heard it everywhere. It's a great video that's got Sean Payton, the Denver Broncos coach, in it. It's just about the great sport of football, whether it's high school on Friday nights, college on Saturday, pro on Sunday, you name it. Uh, Boys of Fall, great listen. If you don't know it, look it up. If you played high school ball, it'll pull on you a little bit. I trust me, I miss high school. Number 4, The Fun. She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy. Great country song, great tune, great jam. Um, oh, I chuckle thinking about that song. Number 3, Don't Happen Twice. There's really no music video to this. This is pretty much just shots of Kenny live on stage. It's kind of like a real simple video, but a great song. Great message. Number 2, whew, talk about one that really pulls on you. There Goes My Life. From the start about the teenage pregnancy to next thing you know, your daughter's grown up and she's gone off to college and she's your life, and now your life's gone to college. Whew, that song pulls, man. That's an emotional one. If you're, especially, I can't imagine if you're a father and you know what that song's about because I don't have any kids, I don't have my own children. But There Goes My Life is really good. And then finally, my number 1, the fun party anthem, When the Sun Goes Down, featuring Uncle Kracker. Kenny Chesney and Uncle Kracker together is funny. It's entertaining. It's great. I'm not really a beach person. Y'all know me. I'm more of a cold weather mountain kind of terrain, kind of Alaska almost kind of like guy. But occasionally I will go out of my comfort zone. I like this song and I do occasionally not mind going to the beach, but it's just not my preference. But anyway, When the Sun Goes Down, my number 1 vote for the best Kenny Chesney song. And there's the old album cover. It came off. It was When the Sun Goes Down, which I believe was 2006. Let me check. At least, no, I'm sorry, 2004. 2004. I was only a sophomore in high school at the time. But anyway, so Kenny Chesney, When the Sun Goes Down, is my vote for the number 1 Kenny Chesney song. All right. So, 50 minutes. See, I wanted to keep it under an hour today. I had a feeling we might. But guys, I appreciate y'all listening. We got to double-digit viewers again. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all checking me out. Even if you come in for 5 seconds and say, I don't like this guy, and you leave. I don't care. Thank you for the viewers. I greatly appreciate y'all. Um, All right. So we close with a Bible verse every week. John 16, verse 33. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. You have definitely overcome the world, Jesus. As we celebrate Holy Week, Easter is coming this Sunday. Um, may we not forget the message, obviously, about what the whole thing is about. As he walked out of the tomb, he was resurrected from the dead and was brought back to us. So just a real simple reminder. Matthew 28:6. He is risen. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. I'm blessed beyond words. I have way more than I deserve. I know that much. Jesus is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. A great Savior who loves me. He loves us all. And He paid the ultimate price for us. All right, Lord. Thank you. Thank you, God. Guys, thank you so much. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll be back next week with our normal show, probably Thursday again. We're waiting on we're waiting on the custody battle for Louisiana Tech to come to an end between Conference USA and the Sun Belt because their schedules are not finalized. They are out, but as you've seen, Louisiana Tech's got like a 20-something game schedule. So we're waiting on that to get done. If that does get settled and their schedules come out, we'll finish those next week with those two conferences. But if not, we'll do something else. I am gonna do. We'll probably go ahead and get it finished just to be safe. SEC coach rankings. We're gonna do my top 5 for the SEC, top 5 for the Big Ten. We'll do ACC and the Big 12 as well. So we'll do our top 5 Power 4 coaches for each conference as we head into 2026. Also, probably going to do quarterback rankings and start slowly working our way toward 2026. Obviously, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because we still got baseball. We've got the Final Four. I try not to get too ahead in 2026 because of all the other sports going on out of respect to them. But anyway, we'll have another show for you next week. As far as country music, I am going to do my top 10 George Strait songs. The King, George Strait, the greatest of all time. Don't care what anyone else says. George Strait is the man. All right, guys. Thank y'all so much. I don't want to keep y'all waiting. Appreciate you guys so much. Thank y'all for checking me out. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Have a happy Easter. And until next week, God bless.